Ooh, I discovered an obelisk, Captain. Biological species next to it.
Genetically engineered hominoid.
AnthonyMichaelAngelo.
Target and observe this organism.
Copy, Roger, over.
Closer. Closer. Enhance.
Whoa! I want to turn these walls on.
Nice cockpit. Lean. Clean. Post-futuristic.
This is in the studio. A video podcast is going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be going over music production, music business. It's designed to have guests. For the first episode, we're not going to have any guests because I don't want to have any guests on the first episode. It's more of an explanation and a little bit of a overview, more of my production stuff, giving away some stuff for free. And it's going to have a little bit of a CircaBio, a little bit of an overview of how I got to the point of going from musician to producer. That'll be later on after this introduction, which is going to be using what's called jump cuts. That's a jump cut. And it seems to be the type of editing that is normalized through all these years of YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, Twitter, MySpace, Friendster, however far it goes back. Whatever it started, now we're using it today. And I'm going to keep using it because this is a one-man show. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to edit this however I want. Well, this is my second favorite shirt, second most comfortable. I don't think I'm going to wear this one. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to bring you into a big music production tutorial. We're going to go deep, fairly deep, into a track. We're going to go into the DAW, and we are going to look at, and by we, it's me, and you're going to be looking along. It's a track called Open Road. It's off my album called Me, Myself, and Dub. It was 10 tracks, and I made 4 versions of each, so it's a 40-track album. It's for free. If you can find it, it's all yours. Otherwise, I'm going to give you all the stems in a link. They'll all be yours. You can take the stems. You can do whatever you want with it. If you're a singer, do sing on it. If you're a shred master flex on the guitar, you do whatever you want. And if you're nasty at bass, you can just erase the bass line and do a new one. I do not care, but it's going to be yours. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to put on my favorite shirt, $12. It's the most comfortable one I got. Now, at this point, I'm going to turn this into a black and white. Let's see if I can do that while it's live. I didn't think about that until now. What we got? Where is it? There it is. Filters. Boom. There we are. I'm going to go black and gray on this one, and we're going to go down to about here, and we're going to go into the tutorial. Here in Reason, before I start, I'm going to let you know that it'll probably not be done sober, but we're going to find out how that goes. Let's do this. To introduce this tutorial, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be pressing play. Pressing play. I'm going to let the entire track play through. While I'm doing that, I'm going to be flipping through the rack, the mixer, and the sequencer, and just focusing in on things so you can see what the instrument is, what it's playing at that moment. The track is about 5 minutes, but essentially it's a 5-minute guide-along lesson without pressing stop and interrupting it every 12 seconds. Or really, when it comes to editing, as you can tell, lots of different stuff going on here. You got all these automations. A lot of stuff. So I'm not going to do that. Just going to play through. Starting from the beginning, I'm going to press play. Go from top to bottom. Let's do it now. All right, you're gonna get all the you're gonna get all the stems for that. I'm gonna bounce them down. You're gonna get all the stems from the track. You're not gonna get the dry stems. I'm giving you how the track is made stems. There'll be a link for that. I'll start exporting all the stems before I start playing around with it in case I change something and don't give you the originals. And it looks like we got 1.59 gigabytes of hi-fi quality reggae music. Ugh. Actually, I don't care if you delete all of them, but one of them, there's 32 different files in that folder. Have fun. Okay, starting with the drums. We have a couple hi-hats, a few snares, 2 toms, 3 on the kick, and I added a lizard clapper that I have in a percussion bag. So let's do just the drums. We're going to solo, press F5, go to the mixer channel. I'm going to solo just the drum kit. Oh, I guess I have the clapper completely by itself. Oh, I added it after. Didn't need its own percussion bus. Let's say if I had 3 different percussion, I would want to highlight one, shift click to the next, route to, new bus, and then that could have been percussion bus. Right click, change the color, and then give it a distinction with the other percussion. That's if I would have had a percussion bus, but because I only had one percussion on this, I only did just that. Let me do some Control Z's here. Control Z. So we have the drum kit bus. Let's listen right here. We could add the clapper, even though it's much later on. It's over here. Let's just play from here. What I did was I faded in the toms, doing this little tom roll. Put a little automation over here from an effects send. The effects send, actually I put the effects all the way on the left. What's nice about Reason is you can take it, click, add a new little rack section, or bring it over to another section altogether. It's nice. So for here, I added what looks like we got send 2, 4, and 6. Do I have those labeled as 2, 4, and 6? I'm going to guess these are the 8 in a row. But let's see. Got up here, effects, 2, 4, 6. Tape echo. All right, so let's just go straight to that little section here. Zoom in. What kind of dubbing did I do on it? That's it. I decided to dub out this one little section here. Now without the effects, let's go back. What's nice is you can actually highlight the section you want. Press the letter Z, it'll zoom in on it. Then you can do G and zoom out a little bit. If you want to slide over smoother, take snap off, press the letter S. So without it, let's say I muted all this. I don't have to do that. I could actually just highlight, press the letter M, and the automation won't trigger. So it actually sounds like this, getting off snap, so I can get right next to it, is what it sounds like dry. So when I do that on the drums, when I do the old flamadoodles, daddle-doodles, tittle-biddles, when I do those things, I plan on that sounding like it's got effects on it. That's why I do those things. So if someone watches me play it not knowing, for this, okay, I'll give you a little backstory on this drum kit here. On this drum kit, I decided to have someone else record the kit because in the current place I was sitting at with the drums, I couldn't get the sound I wanted. So I decided I'm just going to go to a little studio over, and I believe it's Belmore, New York. It's on Long Island. Went there, had him record the stuff. I put my laptop out right next to me, this close, obviously. And I had the Reason file open playing so I could watch all the things going on. And what I mean by that is I could actually watch the song like I'm playing with the band. So I'm playing the song, and up here, if I get lost for whatever reason, because I don't count when I play, I'll look over, see where I am, and realize, oh, okay, I have some more measures to go before the next chorus. So if I'm improvising, like I do almost every take, I improvise and then write, improvise and write, improvise and write. But for this one, I wanted to nail it and chop up my parts in 1 or 2 takes the most. So I would do 1 take all the way through. I would make a lot of mess ups. I would mess up a lot, for sure. I'd make a lot of mistakes. And I knew that, but the guy recording it had no idea. I said, I'm just going to edit it after. I just want some drum tracks, and I probably should have booked 2 or 3 more hours, not realizing how sloppy I was going to be. I was clearly unprepared. I'm not a professional drummer. I don't really practice like a professional drummer. I practice like a drummer who's going to produce his stuff anyway. That's the approach I get. A lot of people get upset with it, but I just don't understand. If you're doing everything digital anyway, these are tools. This is tool building and sculpting in audio. Do you think if Michelangelo from the Renaissance was a musician today as a producer, do you think he would not sculpt his sound? Come on now. Let's get realistic. So I went there, did my takes, said thank you, give me the stems, take care, and enjoy your next session. I mean, he was so hands-off with caring about the recording anyway. He was sitting there eating while he was recording it, which means he clearly wasn't using his ears to care if he said, is that what you want? Is that the take you want? Do you want to redo that? Do you want me to add any effects to this? Nothing. He was just passive, hands-off. It's sort of how I wanted him to be, which was good. So it worked out. So I recorded the stems somewhere else. That's why there's a lot of chop-ups here. You see a lot of... I mean, it's every drum track I record. I'm not good, but this one was extra difficult to edit because I really didn't play that perfect, and I found certain spots that I could repeat. This looks like it repeats. Let me show you here. There you go. Yep. So I copy-pasted this section here, which this section is actually this whole section. Right. This whole section was copy-pasted one time because I liked how it sounded, even though it has a little bit of a flam with the kick snare. I still think it sounded nice with the track. So if I unmute the bus, you'll see how it sounds. With the rest of it, I think it sounds pretty good. Sounds good. All right, so that's how I produced the drums. I recorded takes, 1 or 2, cut them up quite a bit, did a lot of quantization because, again, I wasn't fully prepared for it, but I definitely wanted to record those drums at that time. So I booked it, and I went to record it. Nailed it as far as in production. The closest I was able to get for the sound. I was going for a 70s close mic with some psychedelic stuff. So as a reference, I like the band, hear me out, 10-Foot Ganja Plant. Now that's a good name for a band. It's a ridiculous name for a band. But what I wanted to do was get that type of sound. So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to pull up one of their tracks and give you a little bit here and there so we don't get hit with these, and by we, it's me, hit with stupid copyright nonsense just for showing you a few seconds of each track. Just to show you the production. Not the song, just the production. It's a nice dirty sound. I like it. It's clean. I said it was dirty, but it's actually clean. Dirty as in modern production would consider that dirty. I think it's clean as in less effects. So I guess it depends on which way you want to use the word. There are people that use the word cool for everything. Everything everything people think is either some form on a level of the word cool. I'm not getting into the conversation because I have my thoughts on the word cool. You're all diseased. 10-Foot Ganja Plant. Good band. Now I'm going to flip through the processing on the drums. They're all pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of crazy stuff going on, but you're going to see that my noise gating technique wasn't very efficient. It also helped get that less processed live 70s all in the same room type effect. Like everybody's playing in the same room. Play right here. Might as well explain this. So they gave me 3 extra recordings, 3 extra mics. I didn't really like them. Didn't want to add them. They're nice, but I didn't want to add them to the mix. So I just kept them, muted them, kept them aside. So for here, what do we got? This was a room mic. And I decided to add just have a little shimmer to everything. And up here, doesn't have much going on. This is a different type of editing I was doing at the time. So right here, it's a heavy roll-off high-pass filter. That was just me playing around. I bypassed that. Add a little reverb to it. Tightened it up. That's it. A little shimmer. The next one, this overhead. So that's going into the hi-hat bus. And for this, mostly a roll-off. I guess I was playing with this synchronous a little bit. I was playing with a bunch of stuff. I don't remember any of that. So I guess I was trying to add some effects, and then I bypassed them, and I liked it without it. Those are probably for the dub versions. Those are for the dub versions. Got it. Okay, now for this hi-hat, essentially the same thing. Some roll-off. High pass for the most part. Just keep shimmering going. This is the whole bus. What I did there, kept the roll-off going. All right, I'll explain what I mean by keeping this roll-off going. Now, it's going to almost sound metaphysical, kind of is in the digital world. In the digital audio world, there's always apparently sound. Someone came up with this hypothesis or this theoretical mathematical concept where no matter what you're passing your sound through, that thing creates noise. No matter what. Even if it's on and there's nothing boosted. So let's just say, essentially, let's say I did something like this, right? Let's say it was still flat across, but it was on and there was nothing happening. In this mathematical theory, supposedly all of this sound going through, the fact that it's even going through this equalizer is creating noise. And I went, oh, I get it. Okay, so it's just something to keep in mind. So even if through this bus, all this other stuff that I had, right, with these roll-offs, that technically shouldn't be there, but in the digital noise world, it should be. You know, I've rolled it off here, right? Rolled it off here, rolled it off here. I wound up rolling it all off about the same. Even more in the bus. So even if there was something here, I got rid of it anyway. I wound up liking the bus, how it sounded. Up here, it looks like about 1.2K rolling off, slow curve up to 20K plus. So I'll explain that now because it is a little bit of a technical thing. So it's going to look silly. If you're only using your eyes to produce, yeah, it's going to look weird. But what I learned about that strange digital noise fact, or at least the theory of it, the hypothesis of it, I decided to try to get rid of more noise out of my tracks all throughout because, I mean, they still sound good. So even if it's extra, even if it's superfluous, even if it's extreme to keep going about that way, I'm not hearing any of that digital noise. So either I'm doing it all for nothing, or in the long run, it really is that little bit of extra noise I'm cutting out. I can't really hear the difference. If there is a difference, maybe I don't have speakers that are good enough, or maybe my ears are damaged too much to know it exists, and I can't hear it anyway. Who knows? Maybe I'm only doing it for you. Maybe you have better ears, and I'm only doing this for you at this point. It could be. You know what? I'm gonna take ownership of that. I'm gonna pretend like I'm doing this all for you. Let's do that. All right, that's the hi-hat bust. Now let's get to the snare. Oh, that's my side snare. So I had a side snare, and it was a tenor. It was a snare. Took the snares off, and I used it as a little timbale. Sounded nice. It didn't sound exactly like a timbale, but it sounded nice for this recording, so I kept it. Oh, that one looks like this. Right? A little boost on the 1.2K, rolled off on the highs. That must have been me playing around with it. I copy-pasted the settings. I told you I have a pretty standard way to go about processing everything for the project I'm working on. So it all has a fairly consistent sound with itself. Here we go. There's nothing. It's dry. And then I use the send effects to do the rest. So let's do the next snare. Let's go back to that. Let's go see what that sound. Let's go see what that sound was. Oh, here we go. We got some automations. Let's zoom into that. Where were we? That right there. All right, so that was the side snare, it looked like. Am I on the wrong one? Oh, yeah, side snare's up there. There we go. See, this one has no automation, but snare T1 does. Okay, let's just hear the snare bus itself. What am I missing here? Why is that muted? Are you not in the bus? Oh, it's not. Look at that. So, you learned a mistake today. This is routed to the kit, not to the snare bus. Little mistakes like that could happen. And then you release an album and you go, oh, well, I'm not changing it. I'm not going back and I'm not changing it. And you're going to find out in real time that I messed it up as I was teaching you what the track looked like. Isn't that amazing how that works? That is amazing. Well, that's why it's not sounding like it is in the bus, because it's not. Now let's go to the toms. Those toms are in the bus. Learn something new. I guess you got ups and downs of producing your own stuff. I still think it sounds good. It's just not in the bus. I thought it was in the bus. So now we're on. Let's go to these toms. Let's go find some parts where the toms are playing. Now, I wasn't a big fan of how these toms sounded, but I dealt with them because it had a sound that I would never do with toms. You know, I tuned them a little bit. I gave them a little bit of tuning. You know, tighten them up a little bit. A little more in a pitch I could enjoy. But for the most part, the overall sound of the drums, the heads were old, and they just sound like this. I couldn't do much with them. I didn't like how they sounded to begin with, so I just started doing some wild stuff. I wanted to get some what could I get out of these silly things? I'd say, look, clearly I didn't like how it sounded. Let me do the dry. Let's just do this dry. I'll show you how to do this. So you could bypass. You could just bypass all the effects completely. Let's do that. Let's bypass all the effects. Play just this tom bus. And zoom in. See what's going on here. Right, we got tom 1. That's the rack tom. It was a rack tom and a floor tom. R, highlight, cut that section. Control L, loop it because it's highlighted. And then Q gets you back to the selection tool. And I'm just going to crank it to the roof even if it clips. You know, that rack top sounds pretty good still. But it sounded too modern for the sound. That's probably why I killed it. Floor tom didn't sound that good. But that rack tom sounded pretty good. So you might think I ruined the sound of that rack tom. And you're right. Technically I did. Sounded pretty good. But I decided, let me get an older sound. Let me grime it up. Oh, I still have all the stuff bypassed. So now let's unbypass it. I kind of like that still. I like that. That's a strange set of toms right there. And now for the kick. Let's start with... Oh, kick's down here. I should have did that the whole time. Zooming in like this. So right now we're using 3. Wait. Nope. Kick in. So this mic was inside the kick. This one's outside. All right. And we got a sub. Sounds pretty good. A little bit of a decay on it because it had two heads. It had a batter head and a resonant head. So it had a little bit of a decay running inside, or a resonance running inside that bass drum. Oh, let's run through what I did to them. This one was for the attack. I don't have any of these effects on, but they're copy-pasted. They're all bypassed, which is good. All right, that was just for the attack. Adding the body to it. This. I'll roll off here. Look at me with all these goofy effects that I never just deleted. Silly. All right, that's the body. And the sub is what you'd expect a sub to be as far as the EQ goes. Hard low pass. And just let's run through the kick bus. The kick bus did a little bit to it. This effect compressor here. Look at that. What a difference. What a difference that thing does. Big fan. I don't know how much that thing cost. It was like $5 on, maybe 10. I don't know. Things change. Things change. Lizard clapper, and I use it on everything. And by everything, just a lot. Definitely not everything, but a lot of stuff. I like this little FET compressor. And the lizard clapper is really just a simple whatever the thing could pick up on the mic, every frequency I can get out of it. Doesn't do that much. My lizard clapper is this little thing. You know what the sound is. Come on now. You know. Let's get my lizard clapper. You know what? Let me see if I can go find it. Nah, it's tucked away. But let me pull it up here. All right, let's pull it up on the web. What do we got? This thing. The lizard clapper. You pick it up, and you just let it back down on its way. I got this little guy right here. It's fun. Nice little thing. You right? How's it go? And after the lizard clapper, we're going to do the bass. I'm going to zoom in on this. So, I'll give an example of how I come up with bass lines for reggae music is a lot of times they're in my head. That's it. They'll start in my head. Then I have to try to play it on guitar if it's available on guitar because I hear better in that pitch. After I get it down on the guitar, I put it into MIDI. So we have MIDI right here. This is what this sounds like. What is going on right now? What do I have soloed? Is it muted? Oh, it's muted over here. That's why. Okay. Let's do it over here. Unsolo you here. Solo you here. There it is. And I'll just pick any, well, that's just the mixer channel. So I'll pick essentially anything that sounds close to it. What I used here was I used a subharmonic generator. Mostly a sine wave. And it's just to get the idea down. And then I learn it on the actual bass. And then play it as much as I could. Sometimes I can't do it. Sometimes I have to just find a good MIDI bass and record with that. This is how this is processed. As I showed in the overview, if you watch that, I just kind of guided through. You see it's a heavy low pass roll off with this FET compressor tightening it up. So I'll show you what it sounds like with and without. It's nice. Told you to use it a lot. Oh, he definitely used it a lot on this album. That's the bass. Pretty straightforward, but that's the process of how I come up with bass lines. And this is what it looks like in the DAW. That's the pitch edit mode. The bass is pretty straightforward. Moving on to the piano, let's go directly into what it is. I use this preset of a grand piano. If I press F4, there we go. That's me playing it. So I don't have to play it on any controller. I can just demo it right here. Sounds good to me. So F4, turn that off. By itself, this is what it sounds like. Oh, let's hover over where it's supposed to actually be. Right here. This is where it comes in. Got it. A 7% reverb wet. But the thing is this. Here's the real key to reverbs. Talking about the digital noise earlier. Now, if the low frequency of this reverb was up here, you would get all of this reverberation along with the piano. So after the piano is reverberated, make sure that reverb doesn't carry extra low frequencies of digital noise. That's one of the greatest secrets of reverb. It's not even a secret. If you know where it is, you know exactly, as soon as you start playing with it, the difference of the sound. But the thing is this is how you got to get to it in Reason. So let's say you want to add a reverb, right? Let's say you want to add that reverb right here. Okay? This is the default, right? All plate spread. Okay, but this is what it looks like default. That's what the decay is. The high frequency damp, the high EQ, and the wet. It's all the way up. Right? Let's do the exact same reverb from the default. Let's increase them both to 21. Let's do 3x the reverb on the original, and it will show with this reverb instead. Let's loop this section here. Okay, so that, oh, I pressed L earlier. If you press L, it's the hotkey for turning your loop on and off. So what I mean by that is, when it gets here, if that L loop is off, it's going to go past it and keep playing on the song. So I pressed L, get it back on. I turned it off earlier. Okay. Now that's the one I made. Now let's do the default. This is how you get to the EQ. You have to remote programmer this little thing here. If you don't know what that is, right, you can't click anywhere else except that little arrow. So if you don't know to click on that, you're always going to have whatever the default is. And that default has a flat EQ, right? Big difference. So you're getting all that extra low digital noise in your reverb. Otherwise, you would bring it down and you'd increase the roll-off and you'd get rid of all of that. So let's just say I left it on. I'm going to take it off now. It's amazing. It's amazing. I didn't realize I didn't have my face cam on. So if every time I looked at the camera, oh goodness. Oh goodness. So now that is a demo of that. Let's delete it and go back to the original. So this is how I have the piano set up. Not much sculpting going on. As you can tell, it was more, the piano sounded fine, but the reverb, had to get rid of some of that. Good stuff. Next would be the organ. Let's go solo that. Where did I solo it? Did I solo it over here? Sweet. Let's just solo the organ. It's right here. Get an example of some rhythm. So to give a little bit of swing, what I do here is this little slide. It almost acts like a little bit of a bass. It's like a little bit of a bass line. It's like a harmonic for a bass. If there was no bass playing, it would almost be like a ghost note for a bass. It's nice. So for the processing for that organ, pretty straightforward again. Right? Open it up. Get rid of the lows in the reverb. And I'm using this little stock ID8 Reason piano. Little electric piano. E-piano. E-pianist. E-pianist. Brutal. Whew, that's a bad joke. That was stupid. There we go. Now that is the keyboard, pretty straightforward. I build it all off of the bass line. So I'll usually go bass line, program a basic drum part, program a keyboard part, program a piano part, and from there, I learn all the notes on the guitar. If I want to add any extra stuff on guitar, I take it from there. Because I don't know music theory, I have to make the chords in MIDI and then play them as majors and minors on the guitar. Because that's my skill level. The secret is out. Let's move on to the horns. The horn section is nice. That was a fun one to make. Highlighting on just this horn section right here. Control L makes a loop. This section here, Z. I'm going to zoom in, hold Control, roll ball in, and you will enlarge the sequencer tracks itself. So here we start off, the trombone and the French horn are playing together. These are in MIDI. Let's unmute that piano and let's just solo the brass section. Let's look at just the brass bus itself. The brass bus is really taking everything, tightening it up a little bit, sending it out, make sure it's not doing any peaks or some crazy stuff. I can control it on the way out. And then I send it to the master mixer. So this is just the brass bus without this compressor on. Now with it. Nice little tightening effect there as I cranked it up on the way out. Tighten it up, send it out. The trombones, they have the high pass roll off. A little bit of delay. Oh, I must have used it in the just the send effects later on. Yep. Probably for the dub version. So I have that there, but I'm not actually using it. This delay. Good stuff. The reverb, scooping it again, scooped even more. Let's listen to just the trombone by itself. Trombone, let's listen to just the French horn. I like that sound. So for the French horn, what am I doing here? Am I in the wrong? Am I muted? Am I not on right now? Let's do the French horn. Let's go back to the. Let's go. Where's the sequencer? What's going on there? Why do we not have no French horn? What's going on here? I don't know what happened. Maybe I have to click on that. I love that sound. So, putting them together gave me this. Nice little harmonies. I'm going to spread them all the way so you can really get a drastic difference here. Add in the extra harmony, the third harmony with the trumpets. Let's go right to the section here. Oh, still soloed here. These details. These are the problems you run into when you're running a one-man show. That was a nice little 3-point harmony, I think. I'm using 3 things to make some nice stuff. I thought it sounded nice. Again, you're getting these stems. These stems are yours. You roll it. I apologize for saying that stupid phrase. I'm going to move on to the guitar. Let's move on to the guitars now. On to the guitars. Let's start with the little chippy choppos. Let's do a little loop right here with his 2 different parts. That's good. That gives a good idea of what's going on. So, guitar chops. The flanger chorus is bypassed. The reverb. This one, I want it to have a very fat, full sound because I'm using high-pitched notes. So that's the only way to fatten up the guitar if it's hollow to begin with. As you can tell with the guitar, as you can tell with the decay, it's decaying at a rhythm as well, which kind of helps it air itself out for the next strike. It's a nice little reverb rhythm going on here. Scooped out some sounds I didn't like, tightened it up with the FET compressor. What do you know? And that is how that one is sculpted out. I used a grassroots explore. For the guitar, I used a grassroots Les Paul with a couple humbuckers on it. Bought it in Japan at the book off. $170. Onto the melodies. Let me just scoop in on here. The melodies. Let me zoom out on this. Processing is pretty simple on this one as well. Scooped out some sounds using the same guitar, so it's going to have some of the same sounds I don't like. Kept it a little fat as well because I'm using only the highs, so I want to give it a little bit of volume. So I added the low reverb sounds to these guitars. Gave them a bigger sound. So I held it, slid away. But that sliding rings into the next spot. Take off that loop. Nice. The next will be, this is a copy because I did the melodies over here, which wound up overlapping with that ring out. It overlapped into doing it again. So this is how these would sound. So because I had to copy paste it, it wasn't going to work with that ending ring out with the slide. I decided to just make a copy of it, put it down here, and they slide into each other. Now for the solo track right here, let's just loop that. Now I showed it on the overview, but I'll show it right here. So on the width, I automated the width to spread as it plays. This created a movement in the track. Subtle, but sonic, especially if you're in stereo, listen to headphones. The guitar will start in the center for the most part, a little wide. Actually, you can see right here is where it starts. This line right here is the default, and then it'll increase. So I'll show you in the mixer we got here, right? So we're starting at a spread of 30. We're not panned at all. So it's mostly focused center. So if you're listening to it sonically, it should sound like it's coming mostly from in front of you. And then as it plays out, I automate the spread of the width, the stereo width, to spread. And now it should actually start creates a pretty wild effect. All right. So that's how that little thing came out. I still love that. Now, what I wrote on the other one while I was playing was... which one did I write it on? Wrote on one. There it is. So I tried it and it worked. And I learned it from producing electronic dance music. In electronic dance music, movement is everything. Something being automated to go somewhere to bring you into the next part. So I learned that little sonic nuance from doing other things, from filters opening up to closing to reverbs building up to all sorts of effects building up, and then dropping them down and putting a new track, or as a new track as in a new instrument, adding an instrument, or going into some type of breakdown or bridge or the next part or the next chorus. So that little trick, it's not a trick. It's yours now. It's fun. It works. It doesn't work on everything because obviously it makes everything thin. It's going to hollow out whatever the sound is. It's going to constantly spread it thinner and thinner. So you're probably not get the same effect on a lot of things. But if you want something to get bigger, obviously you would do the opposite. You would have it go from wide to mono. You have to go from more stereo into mono, and it would actually fatten it up. So it might work on a bass drum. That might sound pretty cool. Or a bass itself. Go for it. Give it a shot. I tried it, and it worked. So that will lead to, let's go to the next section here. So on this guitar, this lead, they're looking very similar. Got a little bit of delay on it with 100% ducking. Oh, 95. I was surprised I even put any in it. Maybe I thought that 5% made a difference. Probably not much. But I did it. I made the choice. I'll do it again. I'll make sure I do that again. I don't know if that picture was too big. Was I getting in the way? Maybe I was getting in the way. So on this one, on this guitar, these solos, I have them scooped out because the other guitars have the reverb in it. Right? Got the organs playing. They're bringing a lot of lows in. We got the bass playing, bringing a lot of lows in. Keep these guitars nice and solo-y and not too muddy. Nice and crisp. The next instrument, let's shut these send effects. That was the last instrument. What do you know? Got through the whole thing. I know it might have took a little while, but all the stems are yours. That's the end of the scene. Cut. And now I'm in a spaceship, sitting behind a drum set. And it's got a single right knee mic over here. So this microphone down here, this is a 57. Right here, it's about halfway at the diameter of the bass drum. It's about halfway up. And it's facing inward, about right straight where my hand is moving, halfway up the bass drum. 18-inch bass drum. This dynamic mic here, this 58 and this 57 are going to be the two mics that I'll be recording all of the audio here. I'm going to create a sample pack for you in real time so you can see these two mics. The reason why I'm using these two mics is that if you are a vocalist also playing drums or playing drums and want to get into vocals, you're going to know that this stem for this 58 right here that I'm doing the vocals on, this is audio that is getting picked up when you record. So I just want to let you know that this is what it could sound like if you're playing, it's not just going to pick up your vocals, it'll pick up other stuff as well. So I'm just going to demonstrate all the sounds, and you create the samples as you needed. It's a 14-inch timbale. Six. 8. 13 snare, tenor. 12 birch. 14 birch. Is a 14 brass. Whoop. Snares on. Cross stick. Now let's go through the cymbals. 6. 9. 14. 12. 17. 18. 20. 12s. 14s. These are just temporary. 'Do some bells. 17. 18. 20. 'Now I'm going to attempt to record a little thing. I'm going to do it to a metronome. I'll do 140. Let me go turn it on. Okay, this is going to be 140 BPM. I'll give you the bass line after. Get this out of my face. I'll give you a second one. That'll all be provided for you. There'll be links. Teleportation, bro. Look at me here now. This is a new configuration. I'm going to be playing around with it. I left it open for some symbols. I'll probably replace some symbols. That 58 mic and this 57, the two stems will be provided. They're going to be in the reason file that I'm recording into right now that you're hearing the audio from right now. Depending on which website it's uploaded to, besides our own website, the links for the stuff will be in the show notes for those stems to go download them. And if you're interested in that 57, that 58, or this 57, a link to those will be provided too, to give an example of the types of microphones that get that type of recording. I'll also link the interfaces. They're Firewire. And I mean, the monitors mean nothing. You didn't hear anything about those. I got a couple simple monitors set up. Get those too. Otherwise, any other questions? There's a lot of gear here, so I'll put some links to the relevant gear that you could use to apply and implement immediately for really not that much money in comparison to what a lot of these big industry standard people use, which I think is stupid. I mean, I could just sit here rambling and just talk all day. I'm not going to do that. That'd be a weird video. That'd be a really bizarre video of me sitting like this in this room playing around talking nonsense. There's no other way to end this scene. We're going to move on. Well, the quality really dropped off for this video. Whew, okay. All right. There I am. We're going to go black and white because we're still a little classy. Doesn't really matter. I'm wearing a black and white shirt anyway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a slideshow that I made using Google Slides. And we're going to consider this a speed run of the significant bands that I've played in during my lifetime so far. This thing is so sick. This Elgato Stream Deck. If you can't see it, whatever. There's a link. Corsair bought them. I didn't know that. I've been using Corsair mice for a while. And they purchased the Elgato team, I guess, as a department. And they've been able to expand. It makes pretty impressive stuff. So I'll put a link to that little guy because that's a nice device. If you're doing any type of production like this, right? That's so sick. I'm just pushing buttons, bro. It's amazing. You just set it up, do so many things. It's incredible. So now I'm going to move on to a little slideshow, what I'm calling a CircaBio. It's a biography. A little bit of a biography. Oh, that's the Stream Deck. Right. That's what it looks like when you push the buttons in real time. It's pretty sick. So I'm going to close that out and pull up the slideshow and get it going. I've wasted enough time already. That's the show. And that's the logo I'm going to use for now. And that's me. That's definitely me. And that's me again. All right, enough of that nonsense. What this is a little slideshow. Let's whip through. I told you it's going to be a little bit of a CircaBio, an approximate bio, a chrono bio, or a flow bio. I like that. It's nice, right? Here's the beauty about the internet and building a business on the internet. The internet doesn't drug test. Never forget. Maybe we continue. You know, while I'm here, I'm gonna let you know I don't fully enjoy making slideshows, but there is no other way for me to narrate over history using photography without doing it this way in real Earth time. So bear with me while we rip through this. I'm going to attempt to do a speed run while giving you as much relevant details as I can give you. Okay. Moving on. Starting with the Clever Artist Music Company logo. When I was a child, at first I was a visual artist. I like to draw stuff by hand. I got inside the school flyer type things in elementary school, things like that. My art teacher loved me. I always thought she was a little silly. She was obsessed with Van Gogh and Rembrandt. Absolutely obsessed with Rembrandt. And when I got older, I understood I actually like Rembrandt a lot more than I like Van Gogh. When I was in Amsterdam, I went to the Van Gogh piece inside the Rembrandt Museum. I don't know how to pronounce it. Rasmussen, something like that. But that Rembrandt Museum is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. In fact, I thought Rembrandt's skill and technique and realism was so unbelievable. When I would look at Van Gogh's stuff, it didn't impress me very much. I know, a lot of people are going to hate me for that. And I don't care, because I still think Rembrandt was a better visual artist at the time, and I think his message got across more clearly with what he was doing. He also made a lot more money. He was a better salesman. He was a better marketer, and he was able to let go of his art as an artist the same way a cobbler can make the most beautiful shoes and be able to give them away for a certain amount of money, because some people either thought they were beautiful, they use them for high-class footwear, or everyday soldiery and daily work for citizens in the civilization. So it doesn't matter. Rembrandt was able to sell and commission a lot more art, and I thought that was very interesting when I got older, because, again, my art teacher when I was a kid, she was obsessed with Rembrandt and Van Gogh, and I was a visual artist as a kid. So that logo I drew by hand. I had someone vectorize it, and I think it looks nice. Did it by hand. So that's a little history before the music world at all. And now let's just whip through, because we gotta do this. Otherwise, it's gonna make no sense ever seeing any shows without knowing anything of what to ask me. This will give you some ideas on things to be interested in, or paths to go down to ask questions, or if you ever have a guest request and you go fill it out and you request a guest, you can make it something that you know I'm interested in or I've done, so you know I can probably ask some decent questions. And if you have any question suggestions for that guest, I will also consider that as well. Now, that was an introduction before an introduction of getting into where I think it started here with me, AnthonyMichaelAngelo. That's my little face right there. When I was younger, I actually did have blonde hair, dirty blonde hair. I changed. I morphed. All right, starting with me there. Yep. So yes, my father, that guy in there right there behind me, he was clever, adding Michael in front of Angelo. Angelo behind me, that's his brother, at my baptism when I was very young. Maybe it started here, when my father made me try electronic drum pads, those little purple sticks. See those little purple sticks? So that's him right there. Looks like he's tapping on the little percussion pad while I'm sitting there attempting to hold this guitar, which I definitely couldn't play. I absolutely hated guitar. It was too big for my hands. I still actually hate the guitar. Or when he made me see a keyboard, that little keyboard right there, the little red keyboard, I wasn't very interested in the keyboard, but he did expose me to it to see which one I would prefer. It's a very interesting way he did this type of raising. He really wanted me to play music. He really wanted me to do that. It was obvious. Looking back on it, it was obvious. But as I grew up, I couldn't tell. I don't remember any of this. I don't remember any of these photos. So I guess that's kind of weird. You know, a lot of people remember a lot of things of their childhood. I don't remember most of it. But I think it started here. This was interesting. This was interesting for me. I remember one image being in a garage, door fully opened. The sun made a wall of light. In front of me was a silhouette of drums, and I was barely able to reach anything with the sticks in my hands. So I think that's where the artist was created. I remember that one image. That's the only image I remember of most things from my childhood. Not many things are remembered there. 4th grade. There's me with my big stupid smile, missing teeth. I think I'm missing teeth. Either that or it's still growing in. My teeth are still messed up. That's me wearing a Rodney Hampton shirt. Jersey. I don't know why you call it a shirt. I guess it is a shirt. It is a jersey. Authentic, I think. Or some knockoff. I don't remember. But it was a jersey. Rodney Hampton. He was a running back for the New York Giants. So now 1 degree course correction happens. The new kid moves to town. His name was Lou. And he reintroduced me to a full drum set. So this was years after my father making me be around drums, keyboards, and microphones and guitars, which I still don't remember. Then moving on to bands played in. We're doing a little speed run here. We're trying to do a little speed run while we rip through this riff. Age 9, I played in a little band called Steel Bullets. That was with Lou. Lou played a white cream flying V guitar, and I played his red CB percussion drum set. I think that's what it was called. Oh, there it is. I wrote it. Maybe I wasn't sober when I made the slides. I don't think I was. Age 11, I was in a band called Indecent. It was a 4-piece. I joined as a 5th member on 2nd guitar. Now, this was when my family moved to a different town. I met new people. So at this point, between age 9, I moved at around age 10, and at about age 11 in the new middle school in the new town, meeting all new people. I met up with some people who played some music, and we just magnetically attracted to each other. So our vocalist was a very interesting person. He was a few years older than us, was able to drive, and we were in middle school playing in a band with someone who's like 17. And he was obsessed with the artist Mindless Self-Indulgence and probably 9 Inch Nails. But he was obsessed with them. So we were like this industrial punk music. Age 13, in a band called Dead by Summer after Indecent broke up. And sure enough, we were most likely dead by summer. I don't remember that lasting too long. It was the same band. The bassist went to vocals, and we got a new, better bassist from the same town. He was obsessed with being in standard tuning. He hated doing drop D, which is what we were playing as edgy middle school guitarists. That was more of like punk, trash, nu metal type stuff. So that bass player was good. His name was Pete. Wonder how he's doing. Moving on. Age 15 to 18. Skylark Lane. That was our biggest Long Island success as a metalcore band. This is a different band now. I play guitar in that band as well. But we replaced the drummer. And the bassist. It's a little tough guy photo of us. So I was in photography class, and I was able to take a camera that was able to develop film in the red room, or the dark room, I think they call it. So I took that photo, developed it. That's me with the goofy hat on. That's Mike. That's the new drummer. And Steve's the one crouching, tough guy. That's the new bass player. And this is Nick, the other guitar player. We're actually doing satire tough guy photos. This is all satire. So my satire humor started when I was much younger than the age of reason. I was pretty stupid as a kid, but for some reason we knew how to make fun of stuff. I grew up watching the movies Spaceballs, Airplane, Addams Family, Ace Ventura, Wayne's World, some Bill and Ted, not as much. But for the most part, I watched literal satire comedy, things that were most likely inspired by Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks is one of my favorite writers and directors. Go figure, most of my life turns into satire humor. That was the drum set Mike used. That was the first time I've ever seen a drum set that nice. It was a maple kit. It was a DW kit. It had some weird bluish green wrap on it. It's like a marbly wrap. Looked jazzy, I guess you can say. It kind of has that classic jazz wrap on it. And those drums sounded very nice. First time I've ever seen that. What do we got here? Oh, slide 69. What do you know, bro? Slide 69. That was an accident. Numerology, bro. That's Paul. That's Steve, the bass player's cousin. He did us a solid. He said, hey, man, could you record our demo? So Steve was a couple years older than us. He was able to drive. We drove out to New Jersey. And then this moment was the moment that changed everything. I may discuss it again later, but this is the moment that made me think, you could put a studio inside of a house? What? Is that real? It's pretty amazing. Age 18 to 22. Played in a band called Carpe Mortem. It was a drastically faster new genre. It was about, let's compare it to like a European thrash melodic death metal. Let's just make an analogy here. It was kind of like a hybrid of the Black Dahlia Murder, In Flames, Slayer, At the Gates type heavy, melodic, thrashy with a little bit of death metal blast beats here and there. So the drummer and me are the only original members. Mike, as you saw before. We get a new bass player, a new vocalist. We added a keyboardist. And the new guitarist is the drummer's younger brother. This was the moment that changed my life again. I couldn't believe the band that I was playing in. I was actually more impressed with the band that I was playing in than the fact that I was even in the band. It was weird. So it had the most potential, but never fulfilled it. That was our little logo, one of them. I tried to draw something like that, an alternative like that on my guitar case. If you have a black guitar case from a black Jackson with a reverse headstock, 24 fret, Floyd Rose, it's like a Black Widow type black with a gloss, and you have a guitar case that says in yellowish orange spray paint Carpe Mortem, let me know. I would like that case back. I wound up having to sell it when I was in California. I didn't have the room, and I didn't really need it anymore. I just didn't want to give away that case. You can keep the guitar, but I want the case if you still have it. I mean, I'm just yelling into the universe. Almost 0% chance that the person who has that case will ever see this video. There's a little photo of us in rehearsal. We don't have many photos of us. We never really hired a photographer. It's kind of weird. But if I do find more photos, I will definitely let you know. For sure. Sure. Okay, moving on. With Mike and Steve, in my opinion, after being with them for who knows how many years together, haven't seen them in a while, but playing with them in a band, writing music with them, they, to me, were truly the next Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul Abbott brother combination. What do I mean by that? You got Vinnie on the left, Darrell on the right, drummer, guitarist, siblings. Or the Van Halen brothers, right? Photo's amazing. That is an amazing photo. Amazing. Or the Adler brothers, right? The band Lamb of God. Those two created a whole nother genre of metal on their own because they had that weird synchronized DNA. So whichever genetic duo you'd like to think about, they had that distinct playing and writing ability. That seemed like a display of magic sciences. So when Carpe Mortem dissolved as a band, that was the most depressing breakup of my life. And if you've been there, you know. It's not nice. So they were incredible to write, record, jam, and perform with. So I can't really be upset because it was an incredible experience of my life. It just seems like a lifetime ago. That's really what it feels like. Moving on. 22 to now. Solo artist and producer. Sat in with bands throughout Pacific Asia. Active duty in the United States Navy from 2010 to 2014. Before coming back to New York for my last time, because I'm never going to live in the state of New York again after I leave. Alaska, South Dakota, Wyoming, Texas, Florida equals 0% personal income tax. For now. But New Hampshire and Tennessee are planning to, as per Investopedia. That's what they say. Who knows? So those states seem more like USA freedom than New York's. No offense, citizens of New York. It's just freedom of business, time, energy, rights, life, liberty, and happiness in the pursuit of experience. Nothing personal. 1 degree course correction. Sam Ash music. I'll back up a little bit here. What do I mean by that? Around 2007, 2008, I was accepted as a drum department sales associate at Sam Ash Music on Long Island. Worked there for about a year or so. Look at that. I found my tag. Incredible. Took a picture of it. That's even the Yamaha DTX thing. Information behind it. Still had that tag too. Fascinating. Oh, that's me. Look at that. It's me playing a small drum set, laying down that stank face groove. Yeah. And I think I'm using the Vic Firth 8D nylons, which I wound up becoming obsessed with, and those are my go-to sticks. Vic Firth 8D nylon. Wood tip as another option, but for the most part, I like the nylons. And I haven't broken a nylon tip in 12 years, 13 years. So anybody who says, oh, those nylon tips always fly off on me, it's because you don't know how to play them. I apologize. I yelled at you. Moving on. I meet my drum department manager, Lou Gervey. Let me back up a little bit over here. And he sends me down a rabbit hole of inspiration. Seeking drummers on YouTube in 2007, 2008. That's when YouTube was just starting out. So a whole universe was opening up for me on YouTube. It was amazing. And it happened to just perfectly coincide with the year I was working at Sam Ash. And my brain was exploding when it came to understanding the music business, the drumming world, the music clinic world, the music business world. And I'm still learning about it since. I'm still interested in it since. Pretty amazing. That year was a very interesting year, even though it wasn't the most successful year, if financially, intellectually, it was one of the most impressive and amazing years of my life. So I'm pretty happy about that. After that, slightly parallel universe, is around the same time, but a death metal drummer acquaintance of mine, he shows me Akira Jimbo VHS tape called Independence. He's a real human alien hybrid drummer. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay. After thinking about it, it's pretty amazing. So Akira Jimbo said something like, practice what you want to play. I agree with this statement. I then pursue a way to perform as a one-musician band. He said it, I'm going to try it. Just like him. Right, so how can I figure out how to do that? I realized 86.9% of drummers I talk to, that's a real number, about Akira Jimbo, look at me like I'm telling a visionary mushroom trip. None of them look at me like I'm saying anything serious when I just explain Akira Jimbo. I just say what he does, and he's looking at me like, bro, no. I say, okay, go ahead, check it out. Have fun. So I never quit. So I never quite hit that goal of the one musician orchestra, but I've produced and published over 200 works as a solo artist and producer, just because I wanted to keep creating more. That's it. So while simply publishing and distributing it casually along the way. All right. So last time I took a screenshot, it was 248 works, said one new. It could be changed now. I don't know. I'm probably not going to update that screenshot ever. So Lou Gervey then decides he wants more out of life. He decided this. This is why it's important. This man's decision to get more out of life is what sent me down a whole new trail of understanding the music business and the music education business. specifically. He organizes this store's first drum clinic. So Lou Gervey coaches me. He asked me to open the first drum clinic. Whoa, that's pretty amazing. He wanted me to demonstrate as a one-musician band because I was able to produce all the stuff myself. I was playing the little drum parts. I was producing the guitar parts, playing a little bit myself, little bass parts, little keyboard parts. I was doing the whole thing myself in production, and I was trying to figure out a way, what if I could just strip the drums out and produce multiple genres back to back to show the individual can produce it all himself, and there are no limits to the genre you can play. So that's the vision I had of actually demonstrating this one musician band. So he wanted me to play drums and produce everything myself and then teach it in demonstration. So I immediately doubt my own abilities like a lot of people do. That's not unusual. But he sold me on my own potential. He was like if Eeyore and Tony Robbins had a baby. He encouraged me, but he reminded me of like the comedy of Eeyore. He seemed negative, but he was really just a jokester. So it was very funny that this guy sold me on my potential, even though a lot of people thought he was negative. I didn't think he was that negative. I thought he was a silly guy. So I observed how I thought about it. I observed how I felt about it. And I bought into the challenge. He sold me. I bought in and worked at it. So that was the desk. Man, that thing is a wreck. Let me see if I can take a little face off there. Right? Got my yellow computer that I called Colonel Mustard. That is a subwoofer that I wrote Slayer on. I wonder why I wrote Slayer. Look at that. I also have what were these? It was like those 6-disc changer speakers. Those things pumped pretty hard. And that is Age of Empires 3. Not bad. Not bad at all. That is an Alesis USB 8 channels down to 1. I thought it was a multi-track recorder. Little did I know, I did not understand that goes down to 2 stereo tracks in the DAW. You live, you learn, right? So what happens next is there's some extra confidence with the team. What I mean by the team, a co-worker, Jen, would be working the live sound engineering of this clinic. So I knew we'd have some good sound. This increased my own confidence because the production quality was increasing. The big clinic, the booking. Lou Gervey asks Dom Famularo to headline this educational show, which has 3 fully mic'd drum sets. Jen is incredible at audio engineering, so she mic'd all 3 drum sets. I'm guessing at the 3 different mixers. I don't know what she did. It was crazy. She had a huge board. Maybe it was one big board. I don't remember. It's still a blur. So Dom says he will, which is amazing. So the big clinic performing Anxious. I spoke fast. I had a set list. Still rough on the flow. You know how that is. But some compliments after the performance. So it wasn't 100% bombing train wreck exhibition. There's me. Oh, this is... Okay, I found this photo. This is me, as you can maybe understand. That's Dimebag Darrell's guitar. Dimebag Darrell Abbott. What he was doing after he was dead was whoever allowed his guitar to be taken around by Sammy Ash. Sam Ash brought it around to all these stores. And he was allowing certain people to play guitar. He asked if he played. He asked if I played. I said, yes, I play a little bit. I like metal. It's incredible that you have this guitar here. So he let me play it, and as you can tell, these 2 fingers, I guess give you a little history here. So these 2 fingers of mine, I grew up playing power chords, right? So this position, right? The 5th, these, right? Single, 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. That's right. So I grew up playing power chords. The first thing I learned was Polly from Nirvana. And I was taught by a guy named Leon in middle school, who I think might have overdosed. I think he's dead now. It's unfortunate. So I learned guitar from him. So this power chord, right? So as you can tell, if I try to move this finger by itself, I can do it, right? But if I try to move the pinky, this finger moves along with it. So I sort of built these tendons to work together because I didn't have any traditional or official professional training in my guitar playing. I was mostly just playing power chords and heavy music. So I was mostly just using a power chord or a bar chord. So now, as you can see here, how good is that? Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's just do this. This here, see this pinky right here? That winds up slagging off because I never really built the dexterity of that finger. So I always look at this picture and like kind of laugh at my technique, because if you're a highly skilled guitar player, you see that pinky and you immediately know, I don't know if he's really that dexterous in that finger. So it's immediately questionable skill level. So be it, right? That's life. That's life. See if that audio came out good. I might have moved away real quick. Let me just double check that. Look good to me. Sound good to me. So how I suspended my disbelief in myself. I had to sit and actually think about this because I don't really remember much of it. So I had to sit and think and try to remember. So I remember it was as much fun, if not more, as playing in bands on stages. I've never played or performed at an educational music event before. It was the first time for me. It was interesting. I liked it. So my live audience were potential students. For the first time in my life, that was the situation I was in. So instead of potential fans, for the first time in my life, I was having potential students. Fascinating stuff. After that, my life changed drastically many times. As is life, and we move on and we figure stuff out. So, another 1-degree course correction. Major family problems arise. I needed to get away from it because it was destructive and I was financially unequipped to fix it, but I was willing to figure it out. So, even people like Elon Musk needed to get away and unleash their creativity. You can look up what I mean by that on your own time. Crazy stuff. Wild. So I moved to Granada Hills, California, met and worked with a Finder connector style worker who I assisted with in business meetings, writers looking to sell scripts, producers looking to buy scripts, film studios looking for slates of scripts to produce in partnership with hedge funds. That's a little bit of stuff I was doing. So they say, hey, get yourself a headshot. I said, okay, let me get a headshot. Look at me. Look at that. Early 20s, Anthony. I said, okay, is that good enough? He said, yeah. I was all right. Goodbye. So simply put, I was finished with that business. I didn't fully enjoy it. So now look what happened to Hollywood. It's almost like I envisioned its collapse in 2008. What I asked for the United States Navy or the United States military. I said, hey, could we send in a carpet bombing over to those studios because it's not a really nice place to live or work. And it seems like that whole Weinstein-Epstein thing is proving it. So I moved to Grand Junction, Colorado shortly after that. Apparently, I bottomed out my 95 Camry somewhere in the Hollywood Hills, and in Utah, my transmission grinded to a smooth, no gears operation. All of the training fluid leaked out. Lucky me. Lucky. So I lived with my mother and her boyfriend and son for about 6 months as I worked at a call center, saved up, fixed the car, and then moved on back to the East Coast. So I go back to Long Island. I gave it a second chance. I stayed with 2 amazing friends for about a year, and I guess that was the end of that slide. I guess we're trying to rip through here. So I left Long Island again after that. I moved to a studio apartment, shared with an ex-Marine computer tech, slept on a decent couch for a little while. It was good. There was no reason. It was a studio apartment. It was a nice spot. It was $300 a month. Couldn't really go wrong with that. I was 2 blocks away from the touristy beach of Waikiki, Hawaii. It was interesting. It wasn't bad. So I went to the beach every day. I wasn't working as a dishwasher for an Italian restaurant, trying to move up to waiter as fast as possible. This chair is destroyed. I got to get a new one. This chair is a little old. Yeah, the armrests are a little messed up. Oh, yeah, a lot of noise. Yeah, I'll get a new chair soon. So that's me flipping off the side. Gainers. You got to do the gainers. It's all about the gainers. That's another gainer. What do you know? Most Oahu locals like me. But some Maui locals didn't. You live, you learn. Because you know why? Yes, prejudice exists all over Earth. So be it. It's not a big deal. There are people who don't like people. Okay. So after a few months, I saw my future, and I didn't see my life's forward momentum increasing. I just wasn't really enjoying it. Didn't really enjoy what I was doing. Just wanted another change. So this is where the biggest move decision happens. And what I mean by big decision, the United States military. So I go to the Air Force recruiter office, asked to play drums in the United States Air Force band. They declined. I said about, how long? He said, it's about an 8-month waiting list. I declined waiting the 8 months. I didn't want to wait that. So I go to the United States Navy recruiter next door down, asked to play drums in the United States Navy band. He calls Pearl Harbor Base, that where I'm being extremely juvenile with this torpedo. The MU-1 unconfidently says, we're not really hiring for that now. And then he said, can you sight read music? I said, no, but I can listen, learn, and play it from memory. That's how I learned how to play. I can show you how to do that. I can come over there and play. So I was confident. So he never gave me an audition, which was strange because I was confident in my abilities. And it seemed like I carried that over the phone. Guess not. Too bad. They pushed spec ops on me. I declined over and over. And then they gave me the option, aviation electrician's mate, leave in 2 weeks. That's the symbol for the rate. And I said yes. Great Lakes, Michigan, 2010, October 5th. United States Navy Boot Camp, Division 015. Look at that. There's my cover. Both of them. The RDCs, I had an LSC, a BM1, and a UT2. I know some of that's going to be a little bit overkill as far as the information, but if you're interested, you're interested. There's about 86 people in the division. Some of them were in the mid-20s. There was only 1 or 2 over 30. I think it was just 1. Mostly around 18, 19 years old, as expected. I told no one that I was going to the United States Navy boot camp. I didn't write or receive a single handwritten piece of mail for all 8 weeks. No contact with anyone but strangers as a semi-rebellious entertainer artist. Can you imagine being there doing that? Learn patience in a different way. So in 1 week, in week 1, they asked if anyone played music. I never raised my hand. I didn't trust them. I thought it was a trick question into some type of trap. I don't know why. I just thought it was. One day our cadence training TV DVD players stopped, so I gave up my position to someone else in the marching order. I held the first flag, the guiding position of the entire marching division, to play the cadence on a plastic chair. So I let someone else practice the most important part of holding the flag on the marching so I could actually play the cadence on the chair. And be the drummer and the rhythm leader. I just wanted to play some drums, really. The RDCs asked why I never said I played music, and I told them the truth. I didn't trust them. They respected me more after that, which I thought was interesting. So just for fun, when we graduated, I'm going to throw this in here. The training tempo was this. And the live event tempo was this. I laughed and asked the division in the below 0 degree December wind. We're out there. I said, you hear that? We're out there standing in that weather, listening just before we're about to get into this graduation hall, And the tempo was so fast, I was laughing. So we all had a laugh at our potential embarrassment because the speed of this tempo was definitely faster than what we practiced. Everyone locked in. Everyone showed up. Every single recruit performed in that moment. So I was more impressed than anyone else as the drummer who trained with them at a slow tempo. The only one out of the 86 people who played drums. So I witnessed these non-drummers play faster. That was interesting. Moving on. Pensacola, Florida. Played music with Sailors on the bass, sat in drums at Seville's Dueling Piano Bar, played Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. At first the band was hesitant. As expected, they're an American band, just like every non-Filipino band, but I passed their expectations by allowing a stranger to jam with them. I mean, look at us. Performing a dangerous musical stunt, allowing someone to sit in to play some music. Some simple reggae music. Amazing. Moving on, I request orders, deployment orders in Japan. I asked if you got them. The AECS, the Aviation Electrician Mate Senior Chief, walks in, looks at me, writes VFA 102 at Sugi, Japan. I'm the only one out of about 30 people in the room that actually wanted it. So a lot of people say they want to live in Japan, but when the moment comes to experience it, they suddenly don't want to. And you really get to see, the risk-taking of living in another country. I was interested, so I wanted it. Next, moving on, Oceana, Virginia for about 2 to 3 months. Played music with different sailors on the bass. Met very few musicians there. There's one of them was my roommate, played guitar. He played more so heavy metal kind of stuff. It was nice. It was nice to listen to. I think he was playing mostly Lamb of God, Metallica, shred riffs, heavy distortion. It was nice. It was soothing to my ears. It was a lullaby. A lullaby. Yeah. Moving on. Oh, yeah. Well, this is my NT1A Rode mic. I did not have a pop filter with me, so I decided to tape my, my nylon-y, spandexy underwear to it. Comfortable underwear. Oh. Again, when you make these slides when you're not sober, you forget how far ahead you go with your slides when you're speaking. So I get a spider bite on my waist. I get MRSA. This is the second time, actually. There you go. I'm not going to show that picture too much. That was right on my waistline. That was the second time getting that. The first was actually in California in Granada Hills. I got that on my inner thigh. I think it was my right thigh. I don't remember. I thought it left a scar, but I guess the scar is gone. So I'm playing pocket billiards on the second floor in Oceana, Virginia. As I'm set for a shot, I start thrusting at the table. I just start moving at the table. What's going on here? And it was that 2011 East Coast USA earthquake. It was amazing. So I swiftly leave that solid cement building, because who the hell knows what's going to happen with that building. And there's me back in there going, yeah, let's rip it. Oh, that's actually my stick. Oh, look at that. I forgot I had it with me. Got photos of myself and I just forget what I'm doing. So Japan. The biggest travel inspiration of my life. 3 years in Japan, 2-week leave breaks to New York, 2 short visits out of the 3 years. I'm guessing that's me flying to Japan because it was in a folder that had something to do with it. I forgot. But it's a nice photo. I like these photos. I like sitting by the wing. I like seeing this stuff. So I deployed on the USS George Washington. About 3 months out, 3 months in, on repeat. Look at that. I had to take a picture of that. I'm like, I don't know when I'm ever going to have a photo of myself. For all 3 years, that's what it was, right? Here's my rack. There's some of my stuff. I have my little drum practice pad there. I got my little production headphones, another pair of headphones, backup headphones. This is where I kept my toiletries, right? So we go to Malaysia, Singapore, Guam, Philippines, Australia, Hong Kong, before China's recent information war, that is. And we go to South Korea. About a 6-hour bus ride to the DMZ. I go there. It's pretty amazing. That's not the DMZ. That's Guam. So the best part was I sat in with a band in almost every one of those countries. I think I sat in with a band jamming with every one of those countries. If there wasn't one, it might have been Australia. I think I did in every other country. So it was fuel for my inspirations and aspirations. Oh yeah, there's the little practice pad I brought on the ship. It's a little Zune thing. It's a little media player. It wound up breaking, I think. So I produced a combined hundreds of tracks for others and myself. It was one guy, one lady, one guy. So many not published yet, but plenty of tracks. Oh yeah, I showed you earlier a little screenshot. So plenty of published tracks, plenty that are not published. I was still chasing the big music label dreams. At this point, 2010 to 2014, I was still chasing this dream. This was about 6 years ago. So I was running toward those plantations unconsciously. Just running toward them, just going after it. Stupid me. Stupid, unwise me. It happened. So October 2014, I come back to Long Island. It's my third attempt on this island. I fixed airplanes at JFK Airport. At 2016, I bought a single-family condo as an investment because I had big plans. I did. I had big plans to have real estate income come in so I could work on music production stuff and build a music instrument company, accessories, eventually go into software, VSTs, all that kind of stuff. Then something significant happened. Lou Gervey was dying of cancer, and which I didn't know he had. He kept it a secret from most people, which was his choice, so be it. So I visited him. He looked like he was in a coma, and the room was silent. It was a hospice. It was a thing that I was not expecting when I've been there. I've never been to a place like that. It was a very nice place. It was actually very impressive how well it was. The atmosphere was actually very nice. Didn't feel very sterile, and it was interesting. So I asked the nurses for old jazz music because this guy played drums. He was a huge fan of Buddy Rich. He gave me a Buddy Rich practice pad, which you'll see at some point. So there was a CD player in the bedroom that could be used, the room he was in. I wanted to put on some music for him because it was a silent room, and this guy's a musician. He's a drummer. He lived rhythm his whole life. He inspired me to get out there and teach others about music education. He inspired me to help other people get better. So the cycle of education, wisdom he was at brought me up to be inspired to help other people get better. It was very interesting, and I owe a lot to him. So I put on Frank Sinatra, Greatest Hits, which I knew wasn't Lou's favorite. I know he wasn't the biggest Sinatra fan. That's fine. He was a humorist. He liked to just make fun of everything. So he probably did like Sinatra. He probably just liked to poke jokes. He probably liked Dean Martin more, but we never really talked about it. So from a previous conversation, I knew that. But I thought anything musical was better than a silent death. That's how I thought at the time. I told him some ridiculous stories from the Navy. One topic in particular, I'm not going to say what that topic is. One side of his face jolted like a half a centimeter. He had a little bit of like a smile, like a little. He didn't move at all, but he had that one little, almost looked like a smirk, just compulsively jolted his face. And it looked like a laughing reaction, which to me was baffling because he made no gestures at all the entire time I was there. I was there for a few hours. So I yelled at him. Like, you can hear me? And then I started laughing because I was thinking, I'm saying these ridiculous stories about the United States Navy and some of these ports we went to, And I was thinking, oh no, he could really hear me. So it was interesting. So that, from my knowledge, unfortunately was his last laugh, because he died about 6 hours after I left. It was pretty wild. It was surreal to possibly be someone's last gut laugh. Some last laugh. It's very different. There's no way to describe knowing you were someone's last compulsive laughter. And that meant something to me, because I have always loved making people laugh and entertain them. It's just, it's different. So even after all that, at that point, I'm still in this denial about my skills and wisdom to be an entrepreneur, entertainer, and educator. Even after that, I was still in this denial, because I guess the grief cycle was so big. It was difficult to really whip around and complete that cycle and go from, what is it? Denial, anger, bargain, depression, acceptance, right? The full grief cycle. It's not easy. So I had another epiphany after another death. And what I mean by that is, after that massive loss, the next massive loss was on the horizon. Nobody could see it coming, really, but we all knew at some point it would. So the midnight morning, going into the Thanksgiving day, my father's father, my grandfather, dies. The evening before, at dinner, I made him gut laugh. I don't remember the joke, but that might have been his last good laugh as well. So obviously we could never tell when it's going to be someone's last laugh or last good laugh, but it was another one of those strange moments where, I was sitting there talking shit, throwing jokes out. I'm sitting there, just anything to make him feel comfortable, because he was coughing a lot and he didn't seem comfortable. So I figured, if I can just keep whipping out these jokes, that at some point, if he laughs at something, it'll make him loosen up and get a little more comfortable from all that discomfort. There's only so much you can do. There we are. And I'm not very tall, but I was a little bit taller than him at this point. So there we are. And that was the house he died in. Was that too dark? Was that too morbid? I don't know. Satire humor has no limits. So January 2018, the vision of an invention happens. That following January 2018, 32 years old, not happy, and can't find the coordinates of liberty. That's how it felt. The liberty that I love and desire to keep pushing forward toward. My life seems to have no visionary business goals other than my own music productions. Obviously, you can tell, running toward a plantation, but I did love producing other people's music. So I had that thing where I love helping other people bring their vision to life. Whatever that thing was, that was the guiding beacon, it seemed like. So I just had to think about a bigger purpose with that beacon. So across the turnpike from Hofstra University, clear, sunny skies, above and beyond the horizon, sitting across the table of a cousin, the universe then hits me with a vision. How do ideas come about? I don't know. I can't figure out what an idea is. And I think about these things. A vision of a percussion instrument that doesn't exist on the shelves today. That's what hits me. So that will stay private for now until Clever House Music Company reaches phase 2. Then inventions and innovations will be manufactured. I would like to manufacture them in the United States. More on that after. 1 degree course correction. Clever Artist Music Company's inception. At that moment, creates the conceptual inception of Clever Artist Music Company. Where you are right now, watching this. The search for manufacturers is on. I then think somewhat irrationally, but very much passionately, So I find this big event called Canton Fair, a manufacturer's trade show 2 times a year in Guangzhou, China. It's about, let's say, a 5-hour train ride from Hong Kong. People all over the planet were there. I felt alive again among strangers. Seems to be a common theme, is moving around, meeting strangers, and just enjoying life, talking to people all over the place. I talked to many manufacturers and representatives, and my ankles and feet were burning from all the near constant walking by every single booth set up for that week. There was a lot. There were hundreds of these. I find 2 to 3 different manufacturers and companies that may be able to pull off this idea. They might be able to. So then I head back to the USA and I start the 3D computer-aided draft file with Mike. There's Mike. Another 1 degree course correction. Amazon FBA. I go a certain route. Remember, I had big plans, the real estate stuff, build capital, build inventions. So I tried another way to help move this ball forward faster to get into bigger things to the next phase. So while trying to find a way to build that capital, as mentioned, I created the Amazon FBA business, selling gaffer tape for stages and studios. The margins were too low, and I couldn't scale this product, so I shifted gears to a different angle of attack. That's a fighter pilot, fighter jet, instrument reference. Leaving behind the gaffer tape, e-commerce business. Had to go. Another 1 degree course correction. 3D printed prototyping. The future. Unbelievable how amazing this stuff is. So 2019, using a 3D printer, this little guy right here, the Robo 3D, I design and print about 8 different percussion instruments and 2 drummer accessories. These are playable prototypes that keep me inspired. They're in the other room right now. For phase 2, they used to be on this shelf, but I moved them, rearranged in the studio, specifically for the new productions. Now moving on to something interesting, the Liberty DeVito Clinic. I see an email from Dennis, the owner of the original Long Island Drum Center. It's Liberty DeVito doing a clinic. I purchased tickets immediately. I'm then interested to see what set list he's going to do. I loved it. It was amazing. I loved what he did. I loved how he performed. It was fun. It was a fun time. So I asked some microphone and music recording questions. I loved it more. It was good answers. He re-inspired me about the music education universe. It was nice. So maybe it was the word liberty I was attracted to. Who knows? There we are. Look at that. I'll tell you a small story about Liberty DeVito. I don't even know if I was alive. I don't think I was. No, I wasn't alive. I wasn't even in existence. So my father used to hang out with him. My father and my uncle Angelo, the 2 people you saw in the beginning. They would go to Liberty's house, and Liberty would actually go to my father's house, and he said he always loved my grandmother's cooked ham. He's always a big fan of the ham. I'm not sure he was a fan of the real hams, you dig? You know, the hams, you know, you dig? That's gross. But he said he liked the ham, so there it is. Told him that, and it was a little nostalgia for him. And the next move, I sell the real estate investment. This is where I reprioritize life and company phases. I sell the rental property, which is a condo. Company's phase 2 becomes phase 1. So phase 2 was originally the education to save the dying music industry. Creating a show like this, interviewing guests to educate people more, and to build a full online course to bring anybody at any stage to help build a new creative business model for their own band to help them get more freedom, creativity, and wisdom. Specifically those 3 words. That's what it was designed to do. So I call these my Abraham Lincoln goals and my Bob Marley goals. I know. Listen, we all have to have some type of beacon, and if you think it's arrogant, it might be. Might be, actually. So phase 1, where the instruments and accessories originally, that's what it phase 1 originally was. Had to swap them because priorities. Sometimes you got to change the priority. So that was what I call my Benjamin Franklin and Elon Musk goals as an inventor. I'm not nearly as engineered in perfection as far as my mechanical engineering goes. No way. But I need a beacon. I got to aim high. Shoot anywhere. You dig? So now phase 1 is education. Phase 2 is inventions and innovations. I decided to take the philosophically more difficult route first. So they are now called my Abraham Lincoln and Bob Marley and Socrates goals. Arrogant. I know. Here's why. Socrates was a military veteran. A hoplite, like a Spartan. Right? This is roughly the type of attire he wore. Maybe not the same kind of helmet, but he was a respected guy. So he pursued his philosophical visions after war fighting until his democratic hemlock drinking death in 399 BC. That's a painting, a famous artist rendition of the moment he was drinking it and still questioning and answering all the way to his death. Intense. Next, I go to a Billy Cobham clinic. One day, I'm in Long Island Drum Center. Dennis tells me Billy Cobham is coming to Long Island at a place called My Father's Place. Before I knew this was a venue, I actually thought Dennis was telling me Billy Cobham is performing at his father's place, like a venue his father owned. I did not know this place existed when he said it, so I went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And when I got the tickets, I saw the name of the venue. Oh, he was serious. That's the real name. So I bought those Billy Cobham tickets from Dennis, Long Island Drum Center, as soon as the email was sent about a confirmed date. He's a massive inspiration of mine. He lives in Switzerland currently, I believe, and I learned a lot about how he performed clinics that day. I was inspired again. That's the seat I was in. So if you were at that clinic and you saw the bald guy over there next to the bald guy who was playing the drums, that was me. I bought tickets for Jojo Mayer's band Nerve next. They performed at a record store in Brooklyn, New York. I'm still absolutely baffled from their live performance. I was inspired again. I'm going to say something interesting that I wrote it down. I do remember writing something, so I'm going to read this. I think Jojo Mayer has left... Let me read that again, Anthony. Start again, Anthony. I think Jojo Mayer has his left foot in Earth's ionosphere and his right foot... Did I say that right? I think Jojo Mayer has his left foot in Earth's ionosphere and his right foot in the center of the Earth. His skill level and ideas run deep. You got that? Did I finally get that? Goodness. This is what you get when the internet doesn't drug test and you're doing slideshows. This is what you get. That's where I was standing. Front row. There was no rows. I was standing. I had to watch that technique up and close. Impressive. Moving on. End of 2019. I'm on a 4-year losing streak since I've been back in the United States. I'm losing confidence and momentum, and then I discover a company, ClickFunnels, a web builder software founded by an interesting duo in Idaho. And because my momentum was stasis, I took very little action. So another 1-degree course correction. 2020 happens. 2020 happens. 2020 happens. I don't think I have to explain about 2020. I say goodbye to China, probably forever as a possible business partner in my lifetime. Nothing too personal, just freedom from communist business laws that allow intellectual property theft from anyone they work with. That's all. Nothing too personal. Nothing at all. Moving along, suspending my disbelief for online coaching. This is where stuff gets very interesting. I find the tools to build phase 1, creative music, business education. That's what I was trying to build. I was trying to build a company that was teaching creative music business education for the unwise fools like myself who were constantly chasing and running toward the slave plantations of the music industry slave masters, known as record labels. I see an ad for an online business training course. This is the big decision. I suspend my disbelief. These semi-expensive e-commerce business training courses, the cost was over $10,000. This is how serious I was about building this business. I say this for transparency because remember I told you I bought that condo, so that generated something. I sold it, so now I have some money to work with to build the next business. This is an investment. This is the biggest investment besides that real estate that I've ever taken. So I had to do it. I had to try it. This radical transparency can help understand my investment, as said. So am I bragging or complaining? Neither. Just trying to explain how serious I am about fixing this dying music industry. It is dead. The scene's dead. 2020, it's dead. You understand that? Got it? Good. I'm glad you understand that. Let's fix it. We can fix it. It's all good. Clever Artist Music Cash Flow course designed and built. I did it. I got back to work. Went to work immediately this time. I took massive action, produced the ideas, planned the actions, prioritized the energies, performed the recordings, persevered video editings and uploads, and processed payments and built email lists using template web building. 7 movements in 7 modules, extra modules in production, ever expanding and ever evolving, a community of music industry wisdom, time capsules of music industry wisdom, so to speak, the key of time capsules. I taught the Atlantean, keeper of records, mighty king, magician. I apologize. So now that I finished that long esoteric bio, I can move on. End esoteric bio. And that's it. In the studio with AnthonyMichaelAngelo, Clever Artist Music Company. There we are. If you sat through that, I'm impressed. Thank you for sitting through that. And if you have questions, if you have guest requests, send it in, and I'll eventually get to it. Do you know that? Do you know you're a good boy? Do you know you're a good boy? Smell it. ASMR? Is that what that is? Is that considered ASMR? His name is Marshmallow McLuhan, named after the Marshall McLuhan master. Marshmallow, the Bijan, McLuhan. You know you're a good boy. You know that? Okay. We're done here. I would like to kill another bird with this stone right now. So it looks like we got Spotify. If you want to go check out my nonsense on Spotify, it's just AnthonyMichaelAngelo on Spotify. Closing that one. Apple Music, same thing. Wow. If you are interested in being a guest or requesting a guest, go to the section that says requests and guests or guests and requests, depending on the graphic I put up. Fill out the information, blast off that message, and don't forget the last line where it says, tell us how you really feel. You do that. You tell me anything you want there. You can try to make any joke you want. You can talk all the shit you'd like. And if I laugh, I'm most likely going to reply to you. If I don't laugh, I may put you on the back burner. I'll see how I feel. You know? It's my choice. I usually check them all. Don't worry about it. Truth about to be told as it could be done. There is no way. It is absolutely impossible for me to demonstrate to you all of the athletic, philosophic, artistic, and creative accomplishments in the first 5 seconds. The tubes have trained Homo sapien beings to make advertisements in business to simply cater to the lowest common denominator, and for the malignant marketers to thrive off of uneducated and unwise viewers inside of an environment run by the clergy of the technopolitan consumerist religions of the planet. I'm not putting someone else's 5-second ad before my videos. Forget about those people. And now I sing to you. I apologize. That was a stupid intro. There's no other way to do an intro on something where it's your first episode. And it's not even the type of episode that the show is about. The show is supposed to have guests, but I didn't want to have a guest on the first episode. I thought that would be stupid. And no one deserves to be the first on my show. You got that? All right, let me continue.
There are no limits to comedy.